Valentine boy, VII Valentine boy, EX Turk boy, horror transformation boy, fuck Shimra boy, pro Lucretia boy. Let's get started on the Sturgeon Cerberus. Going down on Purge. Better watch yourself, Hojo. Anyone mess with Lucretia, you're gonna end up with at the end of my Cerberus. I play no games. Got you goofy ass on got your goofy ass on my Hellmasker chainsaw. Don't even.
Hey, it's Noctis. Subscribe to Vincent Valentine EX Turk channel.
What's up, guys? King Knife, it's Valentine EX Turk. Regrettably, we didn't get to see anything at E3 for the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, which is kind of disappointing. Which I'm guessing they're gonna make it right after, just like I don't even think the Kingdom Hearts thing was. I didn't get to see the whole thing because I did something. I was doing something else too. Being busy as usual. So regrettably, we didn't get to see very much. So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and make this for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, this video. And this discussion would be the return of Jenova. And how they're going to play this. Since Sephiroth is now the main villain, you're more likely going to fight Sephiroth a lot more. But I think you'd still be fighting Jenova because Square Enix wants to still keep the original stuff like they said. They just want to change it around, change the story around, and everything. And understandably so. I mean, there was actually just a little list I saw on Facebook. I wish I had reacted to it before they took the list out of stuff they need to scrap from the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it would be injustice to scrap Jenova, because for a while you've been following Jenova, you know, more than you have Sephiroth. Now this time you're going to be trying to follow Sephiroth, but there's going to be some story changes. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least a Jenova arc in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Most likely there's going to be there's most likely going to be an arc for Jenova. Which, that would be really good if that's the case. That's going to be really, really good. That's going to... I mean, I would like to be able to see this nice arc, you know, redone and retold. But I'm pretty sure what's really going to happen after Midgar is that they're going to probably have the same where, like, Spirit Sephiroth comes into Midgar, slashes, you know, Hackett slash anyone who works at Shinra, come to find out it's Jenova making a clone, you know, once you get to Junon. But it's going to be changed and altered, so we don't know what's going to really happen in the remake, considering it's a remake, and a remake is a lot different from the original. Just use some of the same elements of the original. But a remake is pretty much a re-storytelling. Pretty much, this Final Fantasy VII Remake is a new, pretty much an alternate verse of the original. Well, not really, but think of it as an alternate universe kind of thing. Because in the remake, it's going to play a lot different than the original. Like, we already got confirmation that Vincent Valentine and Yuffie are not going to be on the optional status on this. They're going to actually be full-fledged characters with full backstory, since this is going to be episodic. And yes, episodic is a bad word, but, they're pretty much going to make this episodic, so you're going to have backstories between Yuffie and Vincent as much as the other characters. So yes, I'm pretty sure they're more likely going to, since this is going to be episodic with like so many bosses, so many chapters, so many cutscenes, so much story, it's going to be triple the story it had before, because 55% of the first disc was story, and then you go down to 35 in disc 2, and then you go down to 15 with only one major boss fight, and it was just the final battle on the third disc. But you see where I'm getting with this? They're gonna increase it. Most likely, we're gonna get 3 episodic collection of Final Fantasy VII, but episodically. So that means we're gonna get 100% story on all 3 episodes. So maybe after we defeat Shinra, the next arc might be the Jenova arc, where we defeat her instead of fighting her in the last battle. You know, instead of fighting her in the last battle, when Eris gets killed by Sephiroth, you know, she'll get summoned, and then we beat her for the final time, thus not seeing anything about her. Now, this kind of has the whole thing with Lucretia and stuff like that, but then again, Lucretia only has cells of Jenova. She's not Jenova herself. I made that fan theory, and it sounded really good, but I take back that. If anything, she's at least a quarter of her. She has a quarter piece of her. Because what Jenova actually really wanted was her pieces back so she can get back into space. Now, she did start off as bad because she tried to destroy the planet, and that's where the weapons come from, which I don't know if they're going to have a weapons arc in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, but if they do, they're probably going to be like optional bosses, except for Diamond Weapon, because Shinra attacked Diamond Weapon, you know. But we could be looking at a full-fledged Jenova arc, is what I'm saying, with 100% story in all 3 things. The first story will be all Shinra. It'd be the beginning of Shinra. We don't know if this is going to end the way it is. If we don't know how it's going to end. Maybe the weapons come out of the earth and Diamond Weapon destroys President Shinra in the first episode. You probably get everybody like you did. You know, Vincent finishes off Hojo. Scarlet and Heidegger come a little early. We don't know what's going to happen, but maybe we might finish Shinra off a lot earlier. Who knows? We don't know until the remake comes out. But I know that there's a possibility for a retelling of the character Jenova. So we're probably going to have a Jenova arc, but it's not going to tie to the final battle. Because in this one, they're probably going to have to make her die, so we focus on Sephiroth. Because Sephiroth is actually the main antagonist. Now, truthfully, Hojo is actually the main antagonist. Because everything that happened to Final Fantasy VII that was wrong was done by Hojo's hands. You know, Professor Hojo was the one that triggered all the events of Final Fantasy VII. But then again, he's part of Shinra. You know, which goes back to Shinra itself are the cause of all the evil of the world. But Sephiroth is pretty much a main focused villain, because Sephiroth's not only the most popular villain, but Sephiroth, Final Fantasy VII was about Cloud and Sephiroth, the parallels between Cloud and Sephiroth. You know, the whole story of Final Fantasy VII goes through Cloud's journey and Sephiroth's journey. I said this before, and I'll say it again. The game is about Cloud, Strife, and Sephiroth. Even with all the backstories that go to, if you play all the backstories, such as every character's backstory, it ties back to Shinra, it ties back to Sephiroth, it ties back to Cloud. If you ever notice. And that's just the original. In the remake, they're probably going to put more detail on this. More detail on this. More detail is going to be on this remake. So I think it's possibility we could be looking at a full-length Jenova arc in the Final Fantasy VII remake. A full arc focusing on her and defeating her. And then we find out that Sephiroth is still out there. That the last thing Jenova did was take over Cloud and make Cloud give the black materia to Sephiroth, thus resurrecting Sephiroth. You know, as the final thing. Because remember, she kind of manipulated Sephiroth originally. Because Sephiroth felt like that was his real mother, because that's where he got his cells from, and he was only told Jenova was his real mother. Again, I made a storyline fan theory if Sephiroth got to know Lucretia as his mother instead, but that's a fan theory if you want to go check that out. But the point is, you know, yes, in the beginning, Jenova was bad. She tried to destroy the planet and destroy the ancients. But she'd been stopped by the weapons and put in the Northern Crater. But now, since she's been defeated, and since now Shinra is the bigger evil than even she was, Shinra took body parts and put it in their soldiers. And Sephiroth happened to be one of those soldiers. And if this is the remake, then pretty much Cloud got the same kind of, you know, cells as well, but a little bit later on in the past. But the point I'm trying to say is that yes, we're going to be seeing a full-fledged Jenova arc, and still it's probably going to be called the Jenova War, because pretty much that's the, like I said about the Final Fantasy VII arcs, there are several arcs in Final Fantasy VII, several arcs. That's why the game had 3 discs, and that's why this game is going to be completely episodic, to explore a full detailed walkthrough of those specific arcs that we never got to explore before. So we're gonna be looking at we're gonna be looking at full-fledged arcs, and the Jenova War was a big one. That's when Sephiroth put the barrier on the Northern Crater and hid with her inside the Northern Crater. The weapons came out. The whole world got cataclysmic, and it was an all-out war between free-for-all war between Shinra, between Avalanche, and between Jenova and Sephiroth. So, you know, of course it's going to be called that arc, but I think her arc's going to possibly, the prediction I'm having is that her arc's going to possibly end at the 2nd episode of the episodic content of Final Fantasy VII Remake. That her arc's gonna end at the 2nd episode, so that means you'll be focused on fighting Sephiroth on all his forms. And I think to replace the final battle with Jenova, they're probably gonna put Sephiroth in his regular clothes, and you have to fight him as a group. Then he transforms, but we don't know what's gonna happen in the remake. This is just speculation and prediction, and to give you content for E3, because they didn't push no content out there, unfortunately. And I feel bad for that. So may the crystal be with you. Like and subscribe, and Kupo! Get on this.